Did you know that by February, 80% of New Year's resolutions have failed? This year, let's not have that be you. In this episode, we're going to teach you how to set goals that stick.
Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. So with a new year approaching, you and I have been talking a lot about what does that next year look like for us. And to do that, you have to do one of two things. One, you have to reflect. You have to reflect on how far you've come, what you did, what worked, what didn't work, what were the celebrations, where you had the most fun. I mean, the reflection process is a big part of setting goals because you need to know where you're coming from to get to where you're wanting to go. And that's the next part, is having clarity on what do we even want to do? What is fun for us right now? And I think it's so important that you keep that constant update with the dialogue between not only yourself, but your goals and your desires, and then anyone you're sharing those with.
Hey, you brought up such an important point, and that is you have to figure out what you're doing that's working and what you're doing that's absolutely not working, that is just slowing you down, that's taking up too much time. And it's always good to look back on that 80-20 rule. It is that 20% of the things that we are doing are typically giving us 80% of the results that we want. So we want to be constantly reevaluating ourselves and going back to looking at what is that 20%? Like, what's the stuff that really works? And not just do it in our head. One of the biggest problems I see people who set goals or who do any kind of like evaluations, self-evaluations in their head, they don't write anything down. It's the biggest mistake that you can make. And it's because once it gets down on paper, and it's just simple, pencil to paper, once it gets down on that paper, you have turned something that was in your head into something that's tangible and in reality. It is the first step and is the fastest one to get you to actually what you want.
You know, they say statistically that you're 42% more likely to achieve the goals that you do write down. And so it's important to be putting your goals all over the sticky notes, all over the place, so that you're constantly being reminded. Because a lot of the times when we're setting goals for ourselves, it means we're setting a new habit. And we all know it takes at least 21 days to get into that groove of creating that habit where it becomes routine or ritual. And so if we have it written down, it helps us to stay accountable to those goals and say, okay, I know that I want to eat healthy this year. So if I write that down in my kitchen on a sticky note, like if I, go in there and get something that's out of alignment with what I know to be true for myself, I can have that constant reminder instead of beating myself up. It's so important to just have those cues to keep you in alignment, like a reality check, if you will. Just like, I wrote it down, I'm accountable, it's out there. And, sometimes there's like two sides to this coin of sharing it with people. I've seen the statistics on if you share it with someone, you get that instant hit of dopamine and like gratification, like you believe you've already done it. But the other cool part about that, and you can use it to your benefit, is if you share it, they can help to hold you accountable by asking, hey, did you do that thing that you said you were going to do?
Put you on the spot. They'll be that friend. Britt is that friend for people. So if you don't have one of those friends in your life, go find them. They are very, very valuable because they call you out on your shit. They basically are there to say,
I feel like you say this every episode. I was listening to our last week's episode this morning during my ritual. So I'm like, is it weird that I'm listening to our own podcast? But I don't know. I freaking learned from it too. Just like hearing it from a different perspective versus like channeling it or sharing it anyway, you literally said that in the last week's episode. So clearly everyone should just be my friend.
Duh. But you brought up something earlier that put off a light bulb in my head. And that is that our goals, when you're thinking about a goal, we typically think it's an achievement to a specific destination, but that's not what you're actually doing with a goal. A goal is for you to turn a behavior pattern into something that's habitual. That's all you're ever doing. All goals are about changing behaviors. So that's where it starts and that's where it ends. And we have an amazing part in our brain called the basal ganglia. And it is that part that as you practice something new, as you practice a new behavior, it rewires your brain. And if you do it right enough and you get the right cue, response, reward system going for you, what ends up happening is you make that behavior much more permanent. And so you're much more likely to do it next time. The problem is if you've ever gone out and, most people either want to lose weight or they want for resolutions or for goals, it's lose weight, it's save or make more money, or it's somehow eat healthier, which is a part of, losing weight. But to do those, all of those are behavior modifications. So everything that you're thinking about is not just looking at what you want, but what is it specifically that you're doing in your life that's not allowing you to have that? You're doing either some physical behavior or you're thinking in a specific way. And whichever one of those you're doing, you have to change. And it's not enough to not do a behavior. That's not what we want to do. We want to replace a behavior because the time vacuum still exists in our life. So if you watch 6 hours of TV a day and you say, hey, I don't want to watch 6 hours of TV anymore. I want to do something different in my life. You're going to have to figure out how to fill up that time. Or once you get fatigued enough, you'll sit down and turn the TV back on. You always revert back to whatever the automatic behavior is. So you have to replace that with something new.
And the truth is, so many people might not resonate with the idea of setting goals. Like, I don't need goals. I'm good. Whatever. But what we're really doing here is designing our lifestyle. We're figuring out what is it that we want to create in our life that we might not be experiencing, but we have the power to change. And goals essentially are those small changes, the habitual patterns and behavior, those changes that we want to make to help align us with what really feels good for us and what kind of lifestyle we want to live. And so in this episode, we're really going to share a lot of the tools that we use to create the clarity around what are our goals, and then what are the steps that we need to take in order to make that happen, and then how to stay consistently committed to your goals.
Yeah, and that part about lifestyle is important because if you don't see yourself studying all the time, then probably going after a doctorate degree is not for you. And if you don't see yourself committed, being in a marriage is probably not right for you. So you always have to be thinking about, do I want this in my lifestyle? A lot of people think they want to be super famous, and then they get famous, realize they're busy all the time, they're traveling all the time, there's paparazzi all the time, there's so many people saying negative things on them on every social media all the time. They're like, I didn't know this was going to be a thing. And so one of the things that I always like to do whenever I have something specific that I want in my life is I try to go find somebody who has that thing. And then I want to see what is their life like. Like, are they waking up happy in the morning? Are they going to bed satisfied? Are they tired all the time? Are they constantly working? Are they playing at all? Do they have time to be with their partner? Because in this life, you get to choose who you want to be and what you want to be doing. So it's really important to sit down, especially as we move into this year, but at any time if you haven't done it, design your life. Design it down to the nitty-gritty. All the details. How do you want to be eating? Who's going to be cooking it for you? Who's going to be doing the dishes? Like, where are you going to be buying your clothes? Like, you need to think it all through, because if you don't, you just let circumstance deal you the cards that it wants to. And that can be okay, but to me, it's more fun to have a little more say in the experience. You get to choose so much of this journey, and a lot of it comes down to, what do you want your day to be like?
I love that. And my daily planner is it's like my own personal Bible. I use my planner I spend more time in that than I do anything else, because if you set your life up, then you can actually create the space to live it rather than being swept up by circumstance, like you said. So if you can sit down and get clear with your goals and get a game plan or a roadmap, that's why I love using, I personally use the Desire Map from Danielle Laporte. I love, love, love it. I've been using it for many years. And the reason why I feel like I can look back at the last 5 years and say, oh my God, look how much we've done and accomplished in all of these projects and goals and dreams that we've just once talked about are actually happening, because what we did is we wrote it down and we wrote down the steps. And that's the first hack that we're going to share with you today in your goal setting, is getting clarity on what are the top 3 projects that you're working on right now that you want to be involved in, that will move you forward, that will bring you the most joy. And really getting clear with yourself. And that's going to take a little bit of time to sit down, reflect, and review. Where am I at? What have I done so far? What are all the puzzle pieces I've gathered and where do I want to go and focus my energy, and what do I want to create? So you have to think about, what are those top 3 projects or top 3 goals for me right now? I like to think of it quarterly, so that you give yourself time to be able to achieve the goal, not like just for today. And so what we do is we figure out what are our top 3 projects that we're going to work on in the first quarter. And then what we do from there is we break down those top 3 projects into 5 actionable steps per project. So for example, we want to launch high class hippie clothing, like an official launch. So that's one of our projects for 2021. And so the steps that we have then written down are step 1 through 5. What are the next steps that we need to do to get this project off the ground? Whether it be right at the beginning, right at the middle, or right at the end. And what's cool about this is you can come back to this once you've knocked off those 5 to-do lists and you go, okay, well, shoot, I've done all those things. Now what? You sit back down, you use your thinking brain, and you come up with what are the next 5 steps that will get me to move forward in this project. Because so many people are waiting to know step 100 before they actually take step 1.
Yeah, and I really like this process. And it's funny because you have to find out where your sort of zone of excellence when your thinking is. If that is, maybe it's early in the morning with some tea or coffee, or maybe it's, late at night. I actually like sitting by a pond in the car to do this kind of work. So I sit by a pond. If they've got geese or ducks coming in there, it's just super soothing, and I can kind of just let my brain dump. And why this is so useful is what you don't want to have happen is sit down and have to recreate the steps, because now you're burning up your energy creating something that you should have already had when you sat down. So you sit down and then you look at your list and you automatically know, okay, I have not done this part. Okay, well, I'm going to start here. So I just start doing it. And so there's not an extra thinking part. It's just taking action. The biggest problem with goals is that most people never get started. It's just a dream in their head. Hopefully they're writing it down, at 42%. That's definitely getting some legs moving.
Yeah, it's worth writing it down.
Yeah, so look, you've got such a much bigger chance. But think about it in terms of what are the steps, because it can't just be a dream. It has to be something that you turn into something. And so you want to know what that next actionable thing is so that you can immediately do it rather than continue thinking in your head.
And I have worked with so many coaching clients where we do this process together, and it takes them less than 2 minutes to come up with their top 3 projects and the 5 steps that they need to take in order to move that needle forward. Less than 2 minutes. Now, I'm not saying that to set a record or anything. I'm just showing you the truth is you already know what you need, but we play this game in our mind when we don't write things down of, well, I don't really know what the next step is. Well, I guess I'm not even going to move forward. But if you just, okay, I have to write down 5 bullet points of what I think will help me move forward in this. You put yourself on the spot and you are creative and smart enough to know what those next steps are. And if you don't, then that's the time to research it, and then you have the clarity. And so you can never play that game of, well, I don't know what to do next. We all know what to do. It's just a matter of creating that structure and that system. And this, categorizing helps me to figure out what is that system I need to follow to stay on track with my goals. And that leads me to the second hack, and that is creating a by when on your calendar. Figuring out, well, when is this going to be due by? Because I can tell you there are a boatload of projects and dreams and goals written in my little journals all over the place in 18,000 different colors of pen that don't have a definitive deadline or a date. And so they, guess what? Stay in my journal as a dream, like Chris was talking about. And it's not until you put a deadline, a by when, on your projects for you to then stay committed. And that's the biggest trick that we've used in order to stay committed to those next 5 steps is we then plug those 5 steps into the calendar so that they're not just oh, well, I know the next 5 steps, but I'm not going to do anything with it, because then that's the next trap we get ourselves into.
Yeah, this one is, it's so drastically important. The deal is there are so many fun things now. Pick up your phone. There's so many apps. There's so many. You can talk to people across the world immediately. It is insane the amount of stuff that we have access to at this point in our lives. And so a lot of people use the excuse, well, I didn't have time. And so what you do is, of course, you didn't have time. You didn't schedule it. Once it's scheduled, now you have time because you decided, hey, during this slot, I'm going to do this. And now what you've done that's even more important, the secondary gain part of this, is that you've set up a new boundary. So when that friend calls and say, hey, man, can you come help me move today? You say, I can't make it today. I'm working on this huge project that I've got for myself. It is going to be amazing. It's life-changing. And I'm working that day. I'm sorry, I can't do that today. You set a boundary. So now you don't just have to say no to somebody and feel guilty about it. You are doing something for you. These are your 3 biggest projects. These are the 3 most important things that are going on in your life. That's what the goal should be. And so once you've set up the schedule right, you don't have the excuse anymore. Now you've created the time. You never have the time. You have to create it. And so by putting it on the calendar, putting it in, writing it, making it in stone, you've set up that time block for yourself. Now it is achievable. Now it is actionable, because that's when you're going to do it.
Yeah, one of the first lessons in Shine School is if it ain't scheduled, it ain't happening. And that's really talking about self-care. But all things, if they're not blocked out in your time frame, because we all have the same 24 hours, then it ain't gonna happen. So make sure you plug in the calendar, all of those actionable steps, so that you give yourself that chance to win and stay consistent. And another thing that I really think is important is celebrating every single step. Like every time you knock off one of those to-dos, we don't have to celebrate when it's over, when it's done. I like to celebrate every single step along the way. That's one of in the manifesting module of Shine School, that is one of the ways to stay committed to your goals, is celebrating every step. Like if you picked up the phone call, or you picked up a pen and you wrote one word, or you typed up one word, that is a celebration, because you are moving forward. And honestly, forward progress, no matter how big or small it is progress and worthy of celebration.
And so much of this is about staying consistent and doing it on a regular basis. For me, outside of just scheduling in my calendar, like a weekly or monthly or whatever, I use reminders a lot, because I don't want to have to think of everything all the time. I just don't have the mental capacity to do that. I need 5 or 6 brains. And so what I do is whatever daily stuff I want to do, whatever habits, when I break my goal down to the things that I need to do, once a month or a week or per day, once I get it down granular per day, it's in my phone. That way it's just a reminder for me, or it's an alarm that I set. That way I can just stay consistent. I don't have to think about it. When you're in that part where it's not habitual yet, the thing that you're going to come up against is that you forget. You just flat out forget, because you're not used to doing it that way. And then you beat yourself up over it. Then you feel bad about yourself. Then you don't commit to your goal. Then you stop, or you stagger for a couple of weeks, and then you're not in it. You lose the motivation. And so to stay motivated, I use my phone. It's easy. It's got my own little assistant with me. It's always near me. And so I always have a little thing ding or go off. And that way I know where my goals are. They're already pre-planned. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to wonder about it. Just like, hey, it reminded me, hey, you need to drink more water, buddy. It's been a couple of hours since you had a drink. Time to drink again. And so it offloads so much of the brain power that we don't want to use. Our brain's lazy. It wants to do that's why habits are so strong. Your brain is trying to use less energy to take you through your day. And by creating habits, that's what it does. And that's why they're the most powerful thing that you've got, because your subconscious mind is 96 to 98% of your actions per day. It's a ton. Most of the stuff that you do is just automatic. You're not even really thinking it through. You feel like you're in control. Your subconscious mind is in control. Whatever you've turned into a habit, that's what you do all day long. And the way to break that is by using reminders.
I love that your phone goes off throughout all times of the day with different dings and bells, and you'll scurry over and make your tea, or go over there and reply to emails, or everything is hey, don't forget to do this, so that you can live in the moment while being reminded that there are things to get done. Living the balance of the spiritual physical world is it's we just want to play and have fun and live in the moment and be free, but the truth is we've got shit to do, for real. So we have to find that balance of being reminded of when to stay committed. So Chris and I were in the gym a while back, and we were listening to Brendan Burchard's Marketing and Influence podcast, and we were listening to the Jay Shetty episode where they were talking about this idea that they check in with themselves every year with the 3 L's. And I wanted to share that with you guys today, because when we were listening, we kind of paused the episode and we looked at each other and we're like, well, what are our 3 L's? What are we doing in 2021? So do you want to share what the 3 L's are and what yours are? Because you were you nailed it.
Yeah. The first one is, what are you going to learn? Which I think is always important. You always want to be keeping that mind sharp. Second is, what are you going to love this year? And you normally pick something to love that you don't necessarily love yet. for me, this is social media posting. Like there's something about social media that I'm just not that much into. It could be I'm a little more of an introvert. It could be I just kind of like doing my own thing a lot. And I get so excited about what I'm doing. Sometimes I forget that, hey, you got to share some of this stuff. So that's what I'll be doing. Learning, I have found some really, really amazing meditation stuff that I want to get into this year. Really deep levels of consciousness, your ability possibly to heal yourself. Really fascinating. I'm curious about how can we relax and create more of a unity in our bodies. So that's what I'm learning this year. And the last L is launch. What are you launching? Like, what are you creating? What good are you putting out into the world? And for me, it's going to be a lot of my audios that come out. I mean, we have multiple things that we're launching, but for me, it's going to be a lot of the audios. They're going to be recordings of things that I've done with private clients in the past and had tremendous success with. Things like confidence, things like success, and really being able to offer that to more people, because at this point, I can't take on all the clients that want to come to me. And, it's hard to turn people down when you are able to give them what it is that they're really wanting. And it's tough because I haven't really had a modality to come out and give those people something, because there's only one of me. And this is going to give me that opportunity to do that. So I cannot wait to launch that and share that with y'all this year. It's going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait to see what miracles happen in people's lives once they start really believing in themselves, once they get that mindset turned right, and once you just kind of unleash them out into the world as a new them.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And I can't wait to support you and just see all that you do with showing up on social media. I know, like, hell, most of the stuff is because I'm over here being like, hey, did you post? Hey, did you post? And I know it's so annoying, but I just feel like, the world would love to hear the message and the wisdom that you have to share. And so my 3 L's are what I'm going to learn this year I think I have 2 answers for all of them because I'm a Libra, but I feel like these are 2 things that we have tried to do in the past, like tried to stay committed to in the past, and just haven't fully stuck to those goals. And so the 2 things that I want to learn in the upcoming year are Icelandic. It's free, you knew it. You're looking at me like, I think I know what this is. It's hard. It really is hard to learn that specific language. I can't even pronounce it. I mean, literally, how many times have we spoken to Grandma in Icelandic and she's like, what are you saying? Huh? What? And then she'll say it right back to us. And I'm like, I literally just said that. I think there's no difference. Like, what? Why can't you understand what I'm saying?
They have sounds, they have sounds in their language that I've never made before. So I don't even know.
My tongue doesn't do those things.
I don't know how to shape my mouth to form. It's different. I mean, it's definitely a different language.
Well, hey, maybe the second thing I want to learn will help me create those shapes with my mouth is I want to learn Tantra. We've always started on that journey of doing that Jewel in the Lotus book, and it's like a 12-month practice. And I feel like as much as we are intimate, I feel like I want to learn more tools on how to use our energy and merge them together and like just tap into deeper
states of consciousness.
Yeah,
there we go. That always goes back to that, and because what we're really talking about and what I'm talking about with these deeper states is getting into that flow state. We've all been there so many times before, where you're just so in the moment, you're engrossed and immersed in the moment. And it's just, everything is fantastic. It's almost you're awestruck because you're not thinking. I think one of the biggest problems that we do is that we rarely listen to people. We spend all day talking. And then once we are done talking, we talk inside our own head. And so we have this constant conversation that's going on. And most of it, 80 to 90% of that stuff is negative. And so we're hardly ever listening. And I think when you're in the moment so much, the thinking stops. It just sort of ceases because there's not really a future and there's not really a past. You're just right there. It's like, if you've ever watched a beautiful sunset or you've ever seen fireworks or anything, you're just like, oh my, it's just something. It's something that takes over you. It's something that feels so good. And it's in those moments you can really hear. You can start to listen. It's just like our mushroom trips. I didn't have anything I really wanted to say. It was like everything I was listening. I was like listening to myself for the first time. And I think a big thing to get back to this year and to really learn to love more is listening. We do a lot of speaking stuff, especially you do a lot of speaking. And there is something to be said about being able to do that as well as you're able to listen, so that you can really tap into the most basic, fundamental, beautiful things about life.
Oh my gosh. I've just been sitting here like, what am I going to love? What am I going to love? Because I feel like I could answer that 8,000 different ways if you ask me in 10 different minutes, you know? But I feel like the thing that is coming up most for me in this moment is I'm going to love getting on my yoga mat every single day. And although I do love it, it's still a challenge and a struggle for me. And I think mastering my body and like falling in love with the process of, you know, staying consistent with the routines that I've set up for myself that I do enjoy, you know, showing up to the gym and showing up to my yoga mat, just like all of those things. I feel like all the puzzle pieces of everything that we've been working on, it's like just fully committing to the practice of everything, like all of it at the same time, not just like, oh, well, you know, we went really hardcore in the paint for many years on our yoga practice. And then we kind of put that aside and we like went really hardcore on business. And I feel like I've been spending a lot of time in developing our business, our platform, you know, trying to get our message out into the world. And with all of that, I feel like it's kind of bringing me back to the whole message I'm sharing with everyone is, you know, do you first, take care of you first. And I feel like 2021 is going to be coming a lot back to taking care of me first. And it starts with showing up on my yoga mat, even though I want to go write 18 emails because I'm excited about sharing this idea or this thought, you know, it's all of love and excitement, but we got to be for real. And what's a priority?
Yeah,
what's important?
Health is such a big deal. I think this year it reminded all of us that health always has to be at the forefront of all the things that we do, because if you don't have that, you don't get to be here.
Yeah.
And it's so important, and it's so easy to neglect, because when you feel good, you hardly ever think about it. You never like, but then once you start to feel bad, it's almost like it's too late. And it's not. But that feeling of it being too late, you know, you see the person who's, you know, maybe 50 pounds overweight, and then suddenly it's 75 pounds. And by the time they hit 100 pounds, they just kind of toss in the towel a little bit. I know that I've been in that place before, and it's just remembering, like, you can do it. We always underestimate what can be done in, you know, a year's period or 6 months and being consistent at something. We way overestimate what we can do in a day or a week. I mean, we are silly to think we can do everything in a short period of time, but you really can. In a year's time, so much can change. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can really flip around your entire life. You can probably do it a lot faster than that if you just stick to it. But hell, you can half-ass and do it in a year. I like that.
I know. It's all about balance here.
Yeah.
All right. And the thing that I plan on launching in 2021 is my course for hairstylists to teach them to be six-figure salon suite owners. This is a course that has been in the making for, 14 years since I started working behind the chair. I literally left my licensing test and rented a suite in the same day. And she's like, can you pay rent? I'm like, I hope so. And I have been an entrepreneur as a suite owner in my entire career. And it's just something that I'm so passionate about, helping other people just create a better service and a better experience for their guests. And so I think launching I think I'm going to keep the name secret until we launch it. So launching the six-figure course for hairstylists on running their own suite and just having the mentality about, like, how can they take it beyond just being a creative colorist or hairstylist. It's like, how can I create a deeper connection with my clients?
Yeah, what I really love about that is a lot of people don't realize, and maybe take for granted, that their hairstylist is the person that they share the most with out of everybody. More than friends, more than husbands, more than siblings, more than everybody. The hairstylist knows it all. I mean, BRIT knows everything about everybody. I mean, they come in there and just boom, they just brain dump. It's just
dangerous.
Like, yeah, it's very true. But what it is such a wonderful, powerful position when you're a loving person, because you can support people through all the traumas that they are unable to share with other people. And so you creating a course that will help other people to do that, because I know the people who are around you in the salon have picked up on what you do. I mean, I see them come in and ask you questions about how you climb, how you do this and how you do that. And it's so much more than just like, you know, how I do the highlights. You know, it starts to be like, Man, how are you having like really transformational moments with your clients where they finally see themselves for who they really are instead of who they've been pretending to be? And I cannot wait for other people to start doing that with their clients, because we need that. I mean, if everybody just felt 10% better, just 10%, think about how good the world would be. I mean, it would be phenomenal. Hell, 5% would be amazing. Just 5 extra percent.
Hey, better is better.
And we can do that. I mean, it's possible. Like, you can really make a huge difference in other people's lives. I think we neglect to know that, but I mean, you really can. You're a change maker. You just have to realize that.
I know. I'm so excited. There are so many projects that we plan on launching, but I think that's the one, like the biggest one that I've been like, okay, the timing is getting closer to feeling right. I'm super pumped. Like, I've got all kinds of fun little courses around Oracle and my Oracle deck and our clothing company. Like, we have so many fun projects, but I think that's the one that I'm most excited that I'm going to have to put a lot of energy and effort into, which is why it's taken so much time to be able to make it a priority, because I've been focusing on bigger projects that take, as we've learned, 2 years. So I am super pumped about that. All right. You want to share the 4th hack on how to set your goals and stick to them, most importantly?
Yeah, this one is really important because it really keeps everything in check. And that is doing weekly and monthly and quarterly check-ins. This is also something that goes in the calendar or goes in a reminder. This is something that just goes off. You're not going to remember to check every week. You're not going to even remember when a quarter happens. I blinked and it's Christmas again. I mean, the year's over. What? Like, where did the time go? And so we put it in the calendar so we don't have to think about it. But these weeks and these quarterly is just a where am I at? Where am I at? What is working? What's not working? And what do I need to do more of? And what can I totally scrap? The other question to always ask yourself is, do I even really want this goal? And it's always okay to ditch it. It is always okay to say, hey, I don't like this that much. I thought it was going to be awesome, but I'm waking up at 4 a.m. I'm barely moving through my day. I am not happy with my partner anymore. I'm pissy all the time. You got to evaluate yourself. This is not just about where you're at the goal. It's how do I personally feel? How is this fitting into my lifestyle? And so it's always important to do that evaluation on a regular basis, because the last thing you want to do is do something that you don't want to be doing for 4 or 5 years or even longer, and to come to realize that you never liked it anyways, but you set a goal and you have to do it now. That's silly. You should only accomplish the goals that you really enjoy, because if you're not super passionate about it, you are going to lack the motivation that it takes to stick to it. Just like everyone thinks they want to be in business and be an entrepreneur and they're going to make all this money, and you don't really, like, entrepreneurs work so much. And they're some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. And not everybody wants to do that. And that's totally fine.
There's this like saying, I quit my 9 to 5 so that I could work 80-hour weeks as an entrepreneur.
100% the truth. It is a lot. And that's okay. And finding out that it's a lot is fine. When people have major blowouts in their relationships in that first like month or 3, like that's the best time for it to happen. Like, holy hell, what if you get a family and a car and you move across the country and you change jobs and everything's happened? And then you find out. That takes forever. What you want to find out is early. So if you start doing it and you're like, and that doesn't mean to like skimp on the hard work. It's going to be hard work. But if you're obsessed about it, you won't care about the hard work. Anytime you've absolutely wanted something so damn bad, you just couldn't stop thinking about it, the work didn't really matter. If you're always complaining about the work, you probably just don't want that bad. It's just maybe not for you. And that's fine too. You don't have to have so many goals. You are no less loved whether you achieve something or not. I'll say it again. You are no less loved whether you achieve something or not. It doesn't matter. You still deserve plenty of love. You don't have to do all these things. It doesn't matter. It only matters if you wanted to. It only matters if this is going to make a difference in your life that's going to bring you more joy. So always be looking back at that.
Oh, so good. I love it. Chris and I, the way that we approach this is every Thursday we call it a business meeting. We're like, oh, we're having our Thursday business meeting. And it just like naturally happens too. We'll just start talking about all these ideas and then we'll come up with this next new idea and this plan and like, okay, we're going to implement this and this is the next topic we're going to talk about. And then we'll be like, wait, it's Thursday, freaking Thursday business meeting. It's like, we've built a habit where it naturally happens for us. So, and then at the end of the month, like on the last week, we always kind of check in, like, what's the month ahead? What are we talking about in the Elevated Life Club? I mean, literally our life revolves around what topic are we talking about in the Elevated Life Club? So we always check in, like, what are we talking about? Where are we at? And it's so beautiful to see these just business check-ins with a partner. Not only do you need to do it with yourself and the goals that you have for you personally, but if you can share that with someone, whether it be your husband or not, or a business partner or a friend, or what do they call them? Like a biz bestie. Like, get yourself a biz bestie. It doesn't always have to be the one you're sleeping with, but get somebody who you can talk to. Hey, it's just more fun, get someone you can talk to and share your ideas with and check in with, so that you have that accountability partner.
Yeah, this is the old Napoleon Hill mastermind concept.
Yep.
And that is that, I mean, think about it. If you got a friend that's just a hotshot, they can really get it done, will call you on your shit. Again, that's the important friend to have, because we will bullshit ourselves. We tell ourselves so many lies. It's incredible. And having a friend that will kind of see through that, and you don't take it personal when they just really, plunge it in your back. If you cannot take that personal and just listen to them and say, hey, like, I'm going to allow this person to be critical of me because I really value them as a person. I really value their opinion. And this meeting space is set up so that you can do that. Now, maybe your friendship is a little different the second that the meeting is done. Maybe you guys aren't so hardcore with each other. But when you're in the business meeting, it's a hardcore environment. This is where we want to really come out with the bold truth. It's not time to hem-haw around. Otherwise, your business meeting is worthless. You have to have a person who will be totally honest with you and will say, like, hey, you dropped the ball. Like, what the hell were you doing? Like, what's going down? And so that you can start to say, whoo, I did drop the ball. Now let me fix it. And you get right back on track immediately. If you have a friend that will just waste time with you and you just, you end up laughing, it's just games during that, that's, for one, that's not a business meeting. And two, that's not going to help you. So find that person in your life, and if you don't know them, go out and get them. I mean, you need this person, because they will help you do. And if hire
a business coach. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize that the money that they spend, and if you have a good coach, they're going to cost. I mean, if you thought it's like going to a tattoo artist that is cheap, you don't want that. You do not want that in your life. A cheap coach is not what you want. You want somebody who is going to whoop your ass, because they will pull the most out of you in the shortest amount of time. The person who's just fun and you're hanging out, it's just no goals are happening. Nothing's happening. You need a person who will tell you the truth. Go, if you don't have a coach or don't have that friend, go get that person in your life and spend however much you can spend on them, because how fast you can travel with one of those kind of people. Woo! It blows my mind. It blows my mind to see, and even like in a 90-day situation, in 90 days, they will do more in 90 days like you can do in 10 years. It is incredible.
It's so fast so amazing how fast you can grow when you have someone supporting you and calling you on your bullshit. And
you're not attached to them in the sense of a like friend or a partner, because, then you can have resentment, and that gets into a weird situation. And our last hack for you, and I feel like this is one of the things that keeps it the most doable, keeps whatever your goals are the most doable, and that is to simplify and streamline. And what that means is to stop overcomplicating every single thing that you do. If it's not simple, you won't do it. Your brain, I already told you earlier, your brain is lazy. It is lazy, lazy, lazy. It likes hanging out. It likes being in the hammock in the woods. It just likes chilling. And so you have to make it as simple as possible, and don't be wishy-washy. Once you make that concrete goal, and all of your goals should really be plans. What we're talking about here is a plan. You have to design a plan and execute the plan. That's what gives you the goal. That's what gives you the thing that you want, is the plan. But if that plan is not simple enough, if it's way overly complicated, like you got to learn 50 extra things just to be able to do step one, it's too hard. Like that, you will not, is very low chance you will do that. So whatever you can simplify and streamline is help get other people to help you. Make the process so it's very obvious, and get other people to help you if you can. Just like a coach, that's a person that helps you. A personal trainer is a person that helps you. Someone who comes and cooks the meals for you, that's a person that helps you. Whatever you need to offload, whatever part of the process where you look at it and say, ugh, no. Whenever that part of the process comes up, you got to hire that out.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the goal. It means that maybe you're not the person to do that specific part. Totally fine. Most people who run companies don't do like Bezos did not deliver my Amazon packages this morning. I didn't see him this morning. He didn't show up.
What, you missed him?
Shit. Did I miss him?
Dang. I guess he just comes from me.
That probably is the truth. Is he friends with you? Do you call him on his bullshit?
He slides into my DMs.
It's so true that you have to get other people to help you in the process. Don't one man wing it. Just like when someone writes a book, they got an editor, they got a publisher, they got so many other people. It's not just one person doing stuff.
Do you know what? I was looking up the customer service number for UPS today to find out where the rest of my Oracle decks are, and it said that they have 481,000 employees.
They have a lot of people.
What?
You see how it works? Like it's not. We need an army. Like we need an army to accomplish our goals. So don't feel like that you have to do it all on your own. Last tip I'll leave you with. This is the last tip.
Wait.
This last tip.
Is it bulk prep?
Nah, but that's a great solution.
That's the other thing I'm gonna love this coming year.
Meal planning. Yeah. So the last thing though is very important, especially if you have a partner or a kid. And that is to set goals for them that you don't necessarily hold them accountable for, because obviously you're setting up an expectation that you don't tell them about these goals. What you do is figure out how do you help them achieve a goal that you know would be positive and beneficial. Obviously, everything comes from a loving space. It's not trying to be a dick. Everything is from a loving space, but you set goals for them and help them reach those goals, things that will help better themselves. You figure out how to structure your conversations, how to structure your week, what you're doing on the weekends, how you can love them more, how
introduce
you can
them to new ideas.
That's what you're really doing. And this is not about manipulating somebody. This is about giving them new ideas so they can act on them if they want to.
So if you were going to tell the listeners about that goal that you've set for me that you can't tell me about, can you tell the listeners what that goal is?
I can't. I'm not at this moment.
Just pretend I'm not here.
It's true, though. Like the more what we find, here comes the goal. What we find is that the more a person is able to relax, the more they are able to achieve. There it is.
You just want me to relax?
Just relax, baby. You got it.
I think we did a podcast on relaxing. I'll go back and listen to it.
There you go. We have this huge birthday book that BRIT always looks up. She has a new client or whatever. She'll look up their birthday in this birthday book, and it's weird because it's super accurate. Yeah, I've never seen anything like this. I thought it was dumb, but when we were in the store, like, oh, let's look at the birthday book, and I look up my birthday, feeling like it's going to be just totally no. Open the birthday book. It's exact. I mean, it's exact, and every person I've ever looked in there is exact. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And on BRITs, and on every day, they tell you like what the name of your day is. And then at the bottom, they tell you like what you need to work on. Like what's your kryptonite? Like what's the thing that's going to screw up your life? And for BRIT, it's that she will work herself into a frenzy, is that she has to relax.
Well, good thing I married you.
Booyah!
The king of relaxation. Oh my gosh, I have loved this conversation with you. I'm so excited to continue to dig into our goals and the things that we want to set up for ourselves for the next year, because it's so fun having someone to live life with and to celebrate life with, and that will help you to stay accountable. I told Chris when we were coming up with some of our ideas, like what are some of the things that we want to change? Like how are things working right now? Is there anything we could improve? And I said, Chris, I really need your help. I need you to hold me accountable. Like when that 9 o'clock alarm goes off, I don't want to eat any more food after 9 o'clock. And so if you see me in the kitchen, like you just be like, hey girl, what are you doing? And like, just give me that gentle nudge just as a reminder. And so if you don't have that person in your life, then set an alarm on your phone, set a reminder, put sticky notes around the house just to be that little extra voice in there cheering you on.
Man, you know what? I'm so excited to see the people that go through this, use this system, and really figure out what is it they want in life, how they want to build a lifestyle around it, and what lights them up so much that they can't help but do it and form a team around it and make it happen. I know you guys can do this year. I know that this is possible for you. I know that whatever dreams you have in your head just need to be on paper with a plan, set in a calendar with a little bit of help on the side, and you can have it. I mean, you can absolutely have it. Whatever you've been thinking about, like, you can have. It's one of those things where it is possible. Believing it's possible is a huge portion of it. The other portion we gave you today. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. And remember, if you don't want to achieve something as you go along through it, ditch it. You'll not be hurting my feelings at all.
I know. I'm so excited about kicking off the next year with the brand new masterclass on how to make it your best year yet. With some of these tools that we shared with you today are going to be the foundation of really creating that consistent routine where you constantly have clarity and you're in touch with your truth and intuition. So you know when it feels good and when to let things go. So if you're ready to make it your best year, come join us in the club. We'll see you soon.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life Podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.